There's been a lot of discussion of the Patriot Act, and we're told basically that we wouldn't be able to capture these terrorists if we didn't give up some of our liberties, if we didn't give up some of the Fourth Amendment and allow it to be easier for the police to come into our homes. We were so frightened after 9/11 that we readily gave up these freedoms. We said, well, the Fourth Amendment's not that important. We'll just let the government look at all of our records, and we'll make it easier for the government to look at our records. But we shouldn't be so fearful that we say, well, I'm a good person, I don't care, just look at my records. If you do, you're setting yourself up for a day when there will be a tyranny, when there will be a despot who comes into power in the United States and uses those rules that you said, oh, well, I don't have anything to hide. What happens when someone takes over who believes that your religion is to be combated, who believes that your political beliefs and your literature should be combated? What happens when that day comes?
The number of Americans filing for unemployment has surged to nearly 1 million claims in the first week of 2021. According to the Labor Department, about 965,000 people applied for unemployment in the week ending January 9th. That is over 181,000 more than the week's previous claims. These are the highest claims we've seen since August, and it's because the coronavirus pandemic is causing businesses to lay off workers.
The shortage of medicine is the latest casualty of Lebanon's deepening economic crisis. A warning by the central bank that it will soon stop subsidizing essential goods led to panic buying and distributors stockpiling to sell at a higher price. Many commodities have already become unaffordable.
The currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field.
Are you concerned at all? We've talked on this program about I think it's $50 trillion that China has just printed. And 24 of that looks like it went to offshore accounts and was invested in stocks, bonds, et cetera, here in the United States and in the West. That is a staggering amount of money that if somebody wants to collapse the market, $20 trillion, $15 trillion makes the market move dramatically, does it not?
Total worldwide debt has never been higher, and yet there's little sign of this current wave retreating anytime soon. Now, with the coronavirus outbreak being declared a pandemic, governments have announced hundreds of billions of dollars in stimulus packages that will send debt even higher. So just how worried should we be if it all comes crashing down?
And we begin this morning with breaking news on the economy. The final numbers are in on a year that was not good for Canada, and we shouldn't be surprised. Our economy contracted 5.4% overall last year, the country's worst showing since quarterly records started in 1961. And of course, this is a direct result of the pandemic.
We start a discussion on an issue making headlines. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to paralyze economies and cause millions of job losses worldwide, countries are beginning to consider adopting universal basic income, giving out money to all citizens to guarantee a minimum level of income.
Of Gary, Indiana is about to run a social experiment to test out a universal basic income. The Chicago Tribune reports Gary is going to pick 125 residents to get a check for $500 every month for a year. people in Gary will get a survey to fill out with questions about their income and their comfort of living. The 125 people will be selected based on their responses, and the money is coming from a private fund, not from other taxpayers. And the money is coming from a private fund, not from other taxpayers. Gary Mayor Jerome Prince says he believes everyone should get a universal basic income. He hopes his experiment will encourage more cities to consider it.
Earlier this week, I introduced Bill C-237, an act to establish a national strategy for a guaranteed basic income.
And I'm incredibly excited to see Bill C-273 introduced in the House, as it represents another historic step forward toward a guaranteed basic income program.
It's answering Pope Francis's call to the people of God to consider this idea of a universal basic income.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. Okay. What to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
There is something wrong with our system, but I know too many people who haven't had the chance to pursue their dreams because they didn't have a cushion to fall back on if they failed. And now it's time for our generation to define a new social contract. We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas.
While the outsourcing of jobs from north to south, from east to west, while a lot of that was a dominant trend in the late 20th century, the biggest challenge to workers in countries like mine today is technology. So we're going to have to consider new ways of thinking about these problems, like a universal income.
Is further strengthen our relationship with our allies and our friends. So one of the things that we're doing is forming what we affectionately call titanium packages. As opposed to doing bilateral partnerships on like a one-off thing here, you know, hey, we're going to help you with some foreign investment here, some trade here, some educational things here, some aid here. So why not put it in a package? And why not do a strategic plan together? And that's what we're doing.